Hello and welcome. In this video, we're going to build a to-do app using React and Django. Here's a demo of what we're going to build. So I have a list of to-dos here, as you can see. I can add in a new to-do. I can also update the to-do by clicking on this edit icon here. Then I can mark the to-do as completed. And I can also delete the to-do if I want to. The to-dos are also organized so that incomplete to-dos are shown before completed to-dos. So that's the end of the demo. Before we build this app, we will need to have a few tools installed into our machine. The first tool is Node.js, as we will need this to initialize our React app. Then we will need to have Python 3 installed, as we will use this to initialize our Django project. As for code editor, I would suggest VS Code, but you can use whatever you want. Then we will use Postman to test out the to-do APIs. Now we can start coding. First of all, create a folder that will store all of our source code and cd into that folder. I have already created one folder called To-Do App, and I'm already inside this folder, but you can name the folder whatever you want. Then inside here, we want to create a virtual environment with Python. Depending on your operating system, the command to create the virtual environment will be slightly different. In my case, I will run python 3-m venv to create the virtual environment because I'm on a Mac. Now the virtual environment should be created. Now we can activate the virtual environment. Again, the command to activate the virtual environment will be slightly different depending on your operating system. In my case, I will run source env/bin/activate, and the virtual environment is activated. Now we want to install some dependencies for this environment. So we run pip install Django and Django Rest Framework. Now we can create our Django project. So run django-admin start project. Then cd into the project folder and run python manage.py run server. And our Django app should be running on localhost 8000. Now I will go back to the terminal. I will need to open the To-Do app folder with my code editor. So I will open a new tab here and go back to the root folder and run code space and dot to open the code editor. Now we can work on our To-Do app. First of all, go back to the terminal and shut down the Django server. And we want to create a new app here. So we run python manage.py start app to-dos. And we want to restart our server. So run python manage.py run server. Now go back to the code editor. And we want to open the settings.py file under the project folder. And here we want to update the installed apps list to include our to-dos app. Now we can save the file. Now if you see this warning here to say that AutoPEP8 is not installed, this is just a formatter for Python. So I'm just going to click yes to install the tool and close the terminal here. Now we want to update our models.py file inside the to-dos folder. So in here we write class to-do and it will extend models.model. Within here we say name is models.charfield. And let's say the max length is 100. And we want to provide our completed field. So it will be models.boolean field. And by default, it's going to be false. Now save the file and go to the terminal. In here, shut down the Django server and run python manage.py make migrations. Now we want to apply our initial migrations. So we run python manage.py migrate. So this is going to help us to sync up between the models in our files and the tables in the database. Other than our to-do model, Django will also run migrations for other built-in models. Now I will restart the server and go back to the code editor. And our db.sqlite3 file should be created. Now we want to create a new file called serializers.py under the to-dos folder. The purpose of serializers in the context of Django Rest Framework is to translate between Python data types and JSON, because we will be exchanging data with the front-end app using JSON. So in here we write from REST framework import serializers. Then from .models import todo. And we want to define a class named todo serializer that extends serializers.model serializer. And within here we define another class called meta. And we say model is todo and fields is underscore underscore or underscore underscore. Now save the file and open the views.py file. We want to update our imports first, so at the top we write from REST framework import viewsets. Then from .serializers import todo serializer. And from .models import todo. And we can create our views here, so we say class todo viewset, and it will extend viewsets.model viewset. Within here we say serializer class is todo serializer, and query set is todo.objects.all. So we're just going to return all of the to-dos in our database to the user. When we are using model viewset, we essentially let the model viewset to help us handle common operations we want to do with a resource, like reading, creating, updating, and deleting. Now we don't actually have to write the code to implement these operations unless we want to customize it. Now save the file. Now we want to create a new file under the to-dos folder called urls.py. In here we write from REST framework import routers, from .views import todo viewset, and we say router is equal to routers.default router and router.register, and we pass in a regex here, so we say r quotes API/todos. Then we pass in todo viewset, and for the base name we can just say it's todos. Now we say URL patterns is equal to router.urls. So this is going to help expose our todo APIs with this regex pattern here. Now save the file and open the urls.py under the project folder. In here, we want to update our imports. So we write from django.urls.conf import include. Then inside the URL patterns list, we want to add in path and pass in an empty string here. Then we say include todos.urls and save the file. Now our to-do APIs should be ready, and we can test out the APIs using Postman. I have already opened my Postman app, and I have my request ready on the panel here. So this collection is available in the GitHub Repo. You can just clone the GitHub Repo and copy over the Postman Collection. Then import the Postman Collection into your Postman app. The link to the GitHub Repo is in the description below. First of all, we are going to test out the create endpoint. So in the request body, I say the name is prepare meeting notes. And if I send the request, I should get back a response like this. Now I can use the getList API to get back the to-do I just created. I can also get this to-do by specifying the ID. So if I say the ID is 1 and send the request, I will get back the to-do I just created. We can also update this to-do to a different name and mark it as completed. So if I send the request, I will get back the updated to-do. Finally, I'm going to delete this to-do. So I will say the ID is 1 and send the request. And if we get back 204 no content, it means that the to-do is deleted. If I use the getList API again, I should get back an empty list. Now we can build our React app to integrate with the to-do APIs. So on my terminal, I will open a new tab and go back to the root folder and run npx create React app front end. Now this is going to take some time, so I will speed up the video. Now our React app is created. We can cd into the front end folder and run npm run start. Then on localhost 3000, we should be able to see our React app running here. Before we develop our React app, we need to install a few dependencies. So go back to the terminal and shut down the React server. Now we want to run npm install axios react-bootstrap react-icons and bootstrap at 5.1.3. Axios is a library that can help us to make network requests to the APIs, and React Bootstrap is one of the React adaptation of Bootstrap. Then React Icons is a library that can let us to use icons in our app easily. Now we can restart our server. Now we want to do some cleanup of our files. So delete the app.tester.js file, and the app.css file, and the index.css file. And we want to clean up our app.js file. So we want to remove these two imports here. And inside the div, we just want to return hello world. And let's also remove this class name here. And at the top, I will import React from React. Now save the file and open the index.js file. In here, we want to remove the index.css import and save the file. And our hello world text should be displayed on the browser. Now we want to update our React app here to display a navbar. First of all, open the index.js file. And at the top, we want to import bootstrap /this/css/bootstrap.min.css. This is going to import the styling needed for bootstrap components. So save the file and go back to the app.js file. In here, we want to import navbar from react-bootstrap/navbar. And within the div, I will remove this hello world text and instead pass in navbar. BG is light and style is margin bottom 20 pixel. And within the navbar, I will pass in a container. Now we will need to import this container at the top first. So import container from react-bootstrap/container. And within the container, we pass in navbar.brand. And we can say href is just equal to a hashtag. Then within the navbar.brand component, we pass in the text of to-do app and save the file. Now our navbar should be displaying on the browser. Now we want to display a list of to-dos. So under the src folder, create a new folder called components and create a new file called to-do list.js. And in this file, we want to use components from React Bootstrap to display the list. First of all, we import React from React. Then we write export default function to-do list. And for now, we just want to return an empty div here. Now we can go to the documentation of React Bootstrap to find the list group component. So we can just copy this content here and replace the div here. And at the top, we want to import list group from React Bootstrap/list group. Now save the file and go back to the app.js file. In here, we want to import to-do list from /components. to-do list. And under the nav bar, we want to add in a new container. And within the container, we declare the to-do list component and save the file. Now I should be able to see a list of items on the React app. Now we want to add in a form that can be used to create new to-dos. So under the components folder, create a new file called todoform.js. In here, we want to import React and useState from React. We also want to import button from react-bootstrap/button and import input group from react-bootstrap/input group and import form control from react-bootstrap/form control and import form from react-bootstrap/form. Then we write export default function to do form. And inside the component, we want to return form. And within the form, we pass in input group with class name of MB4. This is just a bootstrap class name to add some margin at the bottom. Then we say form control. And the placeholder is new to do. Then we pass in a button with type of submit. And within the button, we just add in the add text. Now we can save the file and go to the app.js file. In here, we want to import to-do form from ./components/to-do form. And under the container component, we want to add in to-do form above our to-do list component. Now save the file, and we should be able to see our to-do form. Now we want to update our to-do form to manage the state of the to-do. So inside the component, we want to say const name, set name to use state. And by default, it's just going to be an empty string. Then we write const handle change. And it will accept e as the param. Then we say set name e.target.value. Now we want to update our form control to be a control input. So we say onChange is equal to handle change. Then value will be name. Now save the file. And if I try to type something here, the changes should be reflected on the input. Now we want to update our React app to integrate with the APIs. So open the app.js file. And at the top, we want to import useState and useEffect from React. Then inside the component, we write const todos, set todos with useState, and we pass in an empty array as the default value. Then we add in useEffect. Within here, we say axios.get /API/todos/ and we write the then statement, and we get back the response. And we can say set todos to rest.data. And for error handling, we can say .catch. We're just going to alert out something went wrong. Now we also want to import axios at the top of the file. Then we want to pass in this to-dos list to our to-do list component. So I will pass in to-dos equals to to-dos. Now save the file. Now it looks like something went wrong, so let me inspect the network request. So currently we are requesting the API from localhost 3000, but our Django app is running on localhost 8000. To resolve this, we can update our package.json file. So under the scripts key, we want to add in proxy. And the value will be http://localhost 8000 and save the file. Now we want to restart our React server. And now our React app should be requesting the data from the API. and it's currently returning an empty array because I have deleted all of my to-dos. So I will go to Postman and create a new to-do. Now if I go back to the React app and refresh the page and click on the network request, I can see that the to-do list contains the to-do I just created. Now we want to display this to-do inside our list. So open the to-do list component. In here, we will accept to-dos as a prop, and we want to look through this to-dos array to display the list of to-dos from the API. So in here, under the list group component, we write to-dos.map, and we want to return list group.item for each of the to-do. So I will change the content to t.name. We also need to pass in the key prop to the list group.item component here. So we say the key is t.id. Now we can remove the rest of the list group.item components here and save the file. Now we should be able to see the list of to-dos that comes from the API on our React app. Now we want to update the list so that there's a checkbox icon on the left side of the to-do, and user can click on it to mark the to-do as completed. We will also add in the edit icon and the delete icon on the right side of the to-do. So open the to-do list.js file. In here, we want to add in a new function called render list group item, and it will accept t as the param, and we want to return list group.item, and we say key is t.id. Then we pass in the class name of d-flex, justify content between, and align items center. So these are just Flexbox utilities provided from Bootstrap. Within the list group item component, we pass in a div with class name equals to d-flex and justify content center. And we pass in a span element here with style equals to an object. And we say margin right is 12 pixel and cursor is pointer. Now we close the span element, and within here we want to check if t.completed is equal to true. If it is, we want to render a checkbox icon, but we need to import the icons component at the top first. So we import md checkbox outline blank from React icons. Now we go back to the function, and in here we want to render md checkbox. Now if the to-do is not completed yet, we want to render md checkbox outline blank. Now after the first div element, we want to add in another div element. Within here, we want to add in two icons. So at the top, we want to import md edit and md delete. Now actually, we should import from React icons /md. Now go back to the div. Within here, we pass in md edit and we pass in a style object. Within here, we say cursor is pointer. Then margin right is 12 pixel. Now we can close the element. And we want to pass in md delete. Style is equal to cursor pointer. And we can close the icon here. Now save the file. Now I actually forgot something here. So after this span element, we also want to add in another span element that displays the name of the to-do. So we write t.name. Now we want to update our return statement here. So I will remove this callback here and write render list group item. Now save the file. And our changes should be reflected on the browser. Now we want to update our component to integrate with the Patch API so that when the user clicks on the checkbox icon here, it's going to launch the network request. So inside the component, we want to add in const handle update, and it's going to be an async function that accepts ID and value. And in here, we want to return axios.patch. and we pass in /API/todos/. Then we pass in the ID and we add in another slash here. Now we can pass in the value and we write the then statement here. Now we take out data from rest and we say const new todos is equal to todos.map, and we check if t.id is equal to id. If it is, we want to return data, or else we want to return t. Then we can run set todos to new todos. Now we also need to accept this set todos as a prop for this component. So we add in set todos. And for error handling, we can say .catch. And we run alert, something went wrong. Now what we are doing here is that we are updating the local state of the to-dos when we have successfully updated a to-do. Now we need to pass in this handle update function to the checkbox icon here. So go to the render list group item function, and within the first span element, we want to pass in an onClick prop. And within here, we pass in a function. Then we run handle update. We pass in t.id, and we pass in an object here that says completed is equal to the inverse of t.completed. So if the to-do is not completed yet, we want to update it to be completed. But if the to-do is already completed, we want to set the completed field to false. Now save the file and go to the app.js file. In here, we want to pass in set to-dos to the to-do list component and save the file. Now we can give this a try on the browser. So if I click on the checkbox of the first to-do, I can see that a patch request is made to the backend with completed equals to true. And in the preview tab, I can see that the to-do is updated. And if I click on the checkbox again, another patch request is made with completed equals to false. And the completed field of the to-do is updated to be false. Now we want to let the user update the name of the to-do. So scroll to the top of the to-do list.js file. In here, we want to import button from react-bootstrap/button and import modal from react-bootstrap/modal. Now go to the return statement, and in here I will add in a div as the container of the list group component. And under the list group component, we want to add in a modal. And for now, we say show is equal to true. And within the modal, we want to say modal.header, and we pass in close button. Then we pass in modal.title, and for the title, we can say edit to do. After the header component, we want to say modal.body, and we pass in a form control here. So we say form control value is equal to an empty string. Then we can close the form control for now. After the modal body, we say modal.footer, and we pass in a button here with variant equals to secondary, and on click will be null for now. And for the text, we can pass in close. Now we add in a second button. This time the variant will be primary, and on click will also be null for now. Then we pass in save changes as the text of the button. Now save the file. Okay, we need to import form control at the top of the file. So import form control from react-bootstrap/form control and save the file again. Now we should be able to see the modal that lets us edit existing to-do. Now we want to update the modal so that we control whether it's open or not, and it will also display the to-do we want to edit on the input here. So inside the component, we want to add in const show set show equals to use state false. Then const record set record equals to use state null. Then we want to add in a function called handle close. And this is just going to help us to close the modal. So we say set show equals to false. Then we want to update our render list group item function. So for the empty edit icon, we want to add in onClick equals to a function. And within here, we say set record to T and set show to true. We also want to update our form control component here. So go to the component and we want to check if record exists. If it exists, we want to say the value is record.name, or else it's just an empty string. We also want to update the form control to be a controlled input. So above the return statement, we add in a function called handle change, and it will accept E as the param. Then we write set record, and we pass in an object here, and we spread out the current record, and we say name is e.target.value. Now we can pass in this handle change function to the form control input. So we say onChange is equal to handle change. Now we want to update the save changes button here to submit the request when we click on it. So above the return statement, we say const handle save changes is equal to an async function. Within here, we say await handle update. We pass in record.id and an object here. And within the object, we say name is record.name. And after the to-do is updated, we want to close the modal. So we say handle close. Now we need to pass in this function to the button here. So scroll down. For the second button, I'm going to change the onClick to handle save changes. Now let's also update the first button so that when the user clicks on it, it's going to close the modal. So in here we say handle close. Now we should also update the modal component to include the prop of onHide equals to handle close. Now save the file. Okay, we need to import useState from React. Now save the file again, and the error should be gone. Now we should also pass in the show state to the show prop of the modal component. So I will change this to show equals to show, and save the file again. Now we can give this a try on the browser. So if I click on the edit icon of the first to-do, a modal pops up with the to-do text here. So I'm going to change this to update meeting notes and click on the save changes button. And a patch request should be made to the backend with the name of the updated text I provided. And as you can see, the to-do is updated. Now if I open the modal and I don't want to edit this to-do here, if I click on either this icon or this close button here, it should close the modal. Now we can update the app to support deletion of the to-do. So inside the to-do list component, we want to add in another function called handle delete above the handle update function. So in here we say handle delete, and it will accept the ID of the to-do. Within here we say axios.delete, and we pass in /API/todos/ then we pass in the ID, and we pass in another slash here, and we write the then statement, and we say const new to-dos is equal to todos.filter. Then we want to return t.id is not equal to id, and we run set to-dos to new to-dos. So we are just removing the deleted to-do from our React state. As for error handling, we can just alert out something went wrong. Now we want to pass in this handle delete function to the delete icon here. So go to the render list group item function, and we want to update the empty delete icon. So we pass in the onClick prop, and we pass in a function here. Within here we say handle delete. Then we pass in t.id. Now we can save the file. Now let's try this out on the browser. So I'm going to delete the first to-do by clicking on this delete icon here. And as you can see, a delete request is made to the backend, and I'm getting back empty content here, but I'm getting back 204 no content as the response, which means that the to-do is deleted. We can verify this by refreshing the page. And I'm still getting only one to-do here. Now we want to update our app so that incomplete to-dos are shown before completed to-dos. So above the return statement of the component, we want to add in const completed to-dos is equal to to-dos.filter, and we want to return t.completed equals to true. Then we write const incomplete to-dos is equal to to-dos.filter, and we want to return t.completed equals to false. Now we want to update our return statement here. So I'm going to change the to-dos.map function to completed to-dos.map, and I will copy this entire list group component and paste it, and I will change completed to-dos to incomplete to-dos. We also want to display the count of completed to-dos and incomplete to-dos. So above the list group item, I will add in div with class name of mb2 and mt4. Within the div, I will say incomplete to-dos, and within here, I will say incomplete to-dos.length. Now I will copy this and paste it above the second list group item component, and I will change the text to completed to-dos. Then change the incomplete to-dos to completed to-dos. Now save the file, and our changes should be reflected. Okay, I made a mistake here. So for the first list group item, it should be incomplete to-dos. And for the second list group item, it should be completed to-dos. Now save the file again, and we can see that incomplete to-dos are shown before completed to-dos. So I will add in a new to-do, and I will mark this to-do to be completed. And we can see that the completed to-do is being displayed under the completed to-dos text here. Now as a final touch, if you want to commit your changes with Git, you will need to add in a .gitignore file inside the root folder. So I will add in .gitignore, and for this file, we can copy a template available from GitHub under the gitignore repository. So in here, you can find the python.gitignore file. So we can just copy all of the content here with this icon here and paste it to our .gitignore file. Now if you are using Mac OS, you will need to update this file a bit to include the .dstore file. Now we can save the file. So that's it, our to-do app is completed. If you enjoyed the content, you can also check out this course on Udemy. In this course, we will further explore how we can use Django and React to build full-stack web applications, and we will cover topics like pagination, filtering, authentication, resetting users' password, deployment, and more. The link of this course is in the description below. So that's all I have for this video. If you enjoy the content, please leave a like and subscribe if you would like to see more content in the future. Thank you for watching.